Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to what is the second last episode of that LCO show for split one of the LCO. Firstly, I'd like to apologize for our hiatus last week. We've had a pretty busy schedule, Calvin and I, these times, but we decided we had to come and to give you guys the episode preceding the finals because, to be honest, this is the most hyped finals we've had in a while. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Calvin. Calvin, nice to see you again after a bit of a break.
Nice to see you again, Max. And yeah, I mean, for those of you who are wondering what happened last week, nothing. We're just busy. That's it. when Max said like, oh, this is like the final, the second last episode. I was like, wait, no, this is not the second last episode. But yes, for the split, it is.
It is, yes. We're not retiring this
It is
show.
for the split, just for the split. You freaked me out a little bit there. I was just like, I was not ready for that. But anyway, let's just quickly, do a quick recap of the first 2 weeks of the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Because we're seeing a lot of 3-0s, and then we have one very close series in Chiefs versus Pentanet.
Yeah, so first week, for those of you who didn't watch or maybe have forgotten, we had Peace fall 0-3 to PGG. And can I just say, Peace have looked so bad. Like, so bad in these last couple weeks. I don't want to rag on them because they're out of playoffs now, but they looked horrific at both series. They just didn't look like they had any clue what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a trend that everyone sort of picked up already, right, by now. And obviously, by the time they play the games. I think, I made a tweet about it. I think Peace, their common thing, a very common thing that they do, right, every single split after split, is the fact that they keep trying to experiment random things by the end of the split. And then that seems to have a very negative effect on the players in terms of how they want to play the games.
Yeah, and I feel like it goes beyond just, saying we're going to experiment, we're going to play weird stuff. Like, it just feels like they genuinely just became bad. Like, they forgot everything that made them good in the first half of the split. And yeah, to be honest, like, the second half of the split, it's literally been like this. They've just gone completely downhill. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope they bounce back next week. I mean, not next week, but next split. But and anyway, I know you're so excited on that.
Moving on. Order.
Sorry.
A team that has looked the most invincible in playoffs out of any team, going 9-0. So in the first round, they took their 3-0 out versus Direwolves, in which I was locked in a room. Let me go on a bit of a tangent for this, okay? So obviously, I flew up to Sydney to cast Peace vs PGG, right? Fantastic. 3 games. I'm like, awesome. I get to go home. I get to go to the hotel. I get to just chill there. Lovely. No. They said I'm not allowed to leave the building until Order and Direwolves have finished playing. And what's worse is they locked me in this room, right? They took my phone away so I couldn't contact anyone. They locked me in a room and I was only allowed my phone between games. So like the 10-minute turnaround period between like the game finishing and the next game starting. I was only allowed to leave the room to like go to the bathroom, grab a drink, grab my phone or anything like that between those games. So, it was for the best because, maybe I would have had to play if someone's internet died. But yeah, I just thought that was a bit interesting. And anyway.
Sorry. Yeah, that was kind of weird because like I thought that you were joking at first when I saw the tweet, and then no, apparently it's not. And then
no, it's not a joke.
No, why didn't they bring you on the analyst test then, since you were there anyway?
They already had Mac and Rusty. I would have just been useless.
Doesn't hurt to have more people. But anyway.
Yeah, so this next series was the best series. I'm going to maintain that it's the best series ever that I've watched in O's. I'm not even kidding. Like,
yep.
The amount of intensity, and just the fact that 4 out of 5 of these games were like late game bangers, right? There was, besides game 5, almost every other game did go to late game, did go to those clutch moments, did go to the moment where Belkan hit the inhib, but Chiefs took out a 3-2 win over the side of PGG. And I think the one takeaway that I think I want to take from this series is PGG's drafting. Like, they introduced Twitch to the meta. It looks pretty good, I'm not going to lie. Twitch looks really, really good. But Belkan, now, I named him the best jungler of the split. I would not be doing that if I had to go again. Because I just think that when he gets behind, like, he just looks completely lost. He doesn't even look like he wants to win, really.
And I mean that's the thing with Balkan, right? Like the guy relies on early game and early game only. I think that is also one of the reasons why Pentanet dropped a lot of games in the early season, because the guy wasn't able to accumulate leads, right? And then his team starts to fall apart, and then they have to rely on Praedith, but then the guy has the history of just getting caught around mid lane and setting up, etc. And this and it really is the Pentanet that we see, right? Like in the past week, but I mean, nonetheless, Pentanet versus Chiefs definitely a banger. But from like from perspective of a coach, it's exciting to see a series like that, but also very disappointing to see some of the calls or like some of the plays that happened during the series, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It was
still the most fun series ever.
It was still fun. It was hella fun, man. Like I don't remember the last time I literally just watched a series and I'm just like, oh, I'm enjoying this so much.
I know, it's because
I want the next game to start.
There was no clue in those first 4 games. Like, one little thing could go wrong for either team and the game would just end. I think that's what I found most interesting about it. But on to week 2, we had Order take a 3-0 versus Peace, who, we've talked about him.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it.
Move on. Now, the really surprising thing, even I was a bit surprised. I didn't even predict that this series would be so dominant. Order 3-0ing PGG, and one thing I want to say to Order's credit is they really seem to have found their groove.
Yes.
I think that, for a team, Calvin, we criticised early on in the split, and even towards the later end of regular season, they just didn't seem to have their identity down. But now it seems to work, right?
Now, I think this is a lot of this, I think, in my opinion, comes down to the fact that Order is now willing to play macro. Right? They're willing to pick Tryndamere, and they're playing split push, right? They're willing to set up objectives. They're willing to actually play the game in a sense that you while getting yourself a lead, you're also choking out the opponent. Because the problem I had with Order this entire split was the fact that they're playing aggressive, right? They're accumulating leads, but they're basically coin flipping fights, right? They're not really setting up for objectives. They see that, oh, it's Dragon Soul, let's just fight it out. Oh, we lost, and then the game is randomly just lost. Right, like we've seen a few times from Order, just coin flipping Baron, coin flipping Dragons, and this is basically the Order that I kind of expected going into the split. Right, at the beginning of the split, I was like, Order is probably top 3 because the roster is so scary. It's very all rounded, and the only thing that stops me from putting Order as the best team is because there are imports.
And yeah, so I'm actually. I agree with you in terms of that whole macro point. I think that in terms of individual talent, I think now these players are playing to the level that they were expected to. I think Kisei in particular is a player for me who had a very, very shaky regular season. I think overall wasn't as consistent as last year. Definitely not in practice, right? I mean, at least let me rephrase that. He wasn't as consistent as he was in practice. His stage performances weren't indicative of the player that he was. But I think now we're starting to see Kisei and Kevy in particular. I mean, we saw Kevy set the all-time LCO kill record with 19 kills. And sure, he did a bit of a scab. He made sure he was the one getting all the last hits on the enemies. But still, that's a bloody impressive record to set. And I think that now everyone on Order is performing. So, yeah, I want to talk about Order vs Chiefs now, because I think that this series is, it's huge, and I think that if you took this series and you tried to predict it 2 weeks ago, everyone would say 3-0 Chiefs.
No, everyone will be so I mean, to be fair, no one would expect Order to be in finals. That's just my opinion, right?
Yeah, they've definitely leveled up.
Even if you look back at week 1 of the playoffs, Order versus Direwolves, yes, Direwolves is running with a roster that I think is suboptimal, but the games weren't insanely dominant where I would say, oh, Order is at the level of Chiefs or Pentanet.
Yeah.
Right? There were still shaky moments, right? Direwolves seemed like they were winning the early game or going even in the early game, and then Order just exploded.
Yeah, especially game 1.
Yeah. So, Order as a team, I think they've proven a lot of people wrong in this playoffs. And going into this last week, right? Order versus Chiefs, I think both teams have their unique points that they can really abuse and probably take games off, right? I think for Order, the newfound identity that putting Kisei on a more utility focus, kind of like that Changi vibe, right? I for some reason Kisei was giving me that Changi vibe from last year, where the guy's playing Twist of Fate.
All
the
I'm
guy's
saying is Chungi is in the Order Discord, so that could have an impact. That could have an impact on what Kisei's playing.
Okay.
Is it even
But yeah,
is it even Kisei who's playing? Or
is it Kisei? It might just be Changi mind controlling Kisei.
Is it Chungi? Yeah. Anyway,
insert sound effects. Okay.
You think I know how to edit that shit? No way. You can edit the sound effects if you want to.
Okay.
But so I wanted to start. Actually, I think I wanted to flip the script here. I wanted to go with your prediction first. I don't think I'm allowed to say my prediction because I'm casting the finals. Live. And so I think if I spoiled my prediction,
what happened if Order? Okay, what happened if Order needs a substitute then?
Then I play. Then I leave the broadcast and I play.
What am I thinking?
They have a PC set up for me there.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, I wanted to get your prediction for this series because I know I predicted something pretty drastic. I want to hear from you.
I'm gonna guess someone predicted 3-0 Order, but anyway, I am going to say 3-2 to Chiefs.
Okay. So
now, I don't want to discredit Order because they really surprised me, and I'm very proud of Puma and Kevy's performance. Right, like these two players I've worked with for a long time, and maybe I shouldn't do that. But no, like those two players I worked with for a long time, and like both of them have a lot of potential, right? Like Kevy was stuck in the P substitute roster, right? Stuck in the bench for half a split, and then Puma was a solo queue prodigy, came in for Gravitas, and then had a very rough debut. And these two players really, really popped off this series. And the reason why I predicted Chiefs to win, though, is because I think the top side is still very abusable for Order. So the Order's top side right now, in my opinion, is very hard to It's very hard to get a huge lead off of, right? Like they're very Biopanther is very good at neutralizing the enemy top laner, and I think Kisei, with his current identity, is pretty good at, again, neutralizing the enemy mid laner. And Kevy is just one of those players that, if he hits that late game, he will make really good plays, right? But the thing is, I think this identity kind of clashes with Chiefs, right? Top Root is completely fine just having free scale, right? Tally is completely fine having free scale. And then Arthur, probably, I don't think mechanically he's as good as Kevy, IMO. But Arthur, as like a player, he is probably the top 2, top 3 junglers alongside Balkan and Kevy, right? So I think it's the sort of like the matter of having 1 carry versus 2 carries scenario, where I think if Order and Chiefs sort of play the game where you just go to 35 minutes and everyone's like kind of even, I feel like Chiefs with Top Rune Tally and Raze have the edge over Order. Yeah,
okay, so I'm gonna make my case for Order now. Just to, in the interest of debate.
Off you go.
In the interest of debate. So firstly, I want to talk about stuff sort of outside of the game. And that is the fact that Order is 9-0 in playoffs. They haven't lost a single game. Now, Chiefs have only played 2 series, I think. 2 series?
1.
2 series? Only 1 series.
1 series. Independent.
They've only played 1 series in the entire playoffs, and that was a nail-biter series that they should have lost if Balkan hit the inhib. Right? So...
Didn't hit the inhib.
What? Didn't hit the inhib, yeah. What I want to say is, I think that momentum is strongly on Order's side. I think confidence is strongly on Order's side, and I think that this team... Okay, fuck, I'm just going to say my prediction. I'm predicting an Order 3-0 for this series. I think Order...
We know, alright? We all know.
I think Order will sweep this series, and the reason is because I think that... I agree with you, Calvin. If it goes to a 5-game series, I think Chiefs will win. I think that the experience and the veterancy will trump the talent from Order, but I think right now, Order are just better players than Chiefs. I think in every role, across the board, they are better. I'd say the only one that's slightly up for debate is maybe Top. But even then, I don't think Top Boon has been playing that well recently, and I think the Biopath has really stepped up for playoffs. So I think individually across the board, everyone in order's looking good. They're looking hungry, and their drafts have been looking so good. I mean, series, shout out the man. He has been draft gapping every single game in this PGG series. Like, I think every single draft was just so much better than PGG's.
I think that was... It's actually so insane because, like, look, I have to do a little bit of flaming here because the fact that... Look, okay, like it's kind of the same as how I flame order on my stream where, like, you know, I was like, dude, Biopanther and Corporal says so much bullshit in the pregame, but then I feel like they're getting carried by Kevy and Puma. And I think those two guys kind of prove me wrong, you know, with the playoffs, with their playoffs performance. And then we look at Pentanet, right? They're so confident going into the series. They were like, oh, we've been working on drafts, we've been working on macro, and then boom. 3 games of draft gap, 3 games of macro gap.
Have they been working on building death cap? Last item on Vigar.
Exactly.
That was
like
the builds
my
from that
God.
game. I just want to talk about this for a second because 3 members on PGG
That was so
turbo
grieved,
griefed their draft. We had Deadman's Plate second Nah. That is
Yep.
the worst item in the game, like period. It's such a shit item. Then we had Balkan going his 0 damage Graves build with completed more of Malmortius and Black
Yep.
Cleaver third. Yes, because Graves is gonna absolutely one-shot everyone with that build. And then I don't even want to get started on Yuri's build. Archangel's second on Veigar. Does a single Veigar player ever in competitive have they ever built that item? It's just...
Oh no.
And you know what was funny? You know what was funny? For his
Yeah?
last item, his last component that he bought was a Hextech Alternator. It wasn't even a needlessly large rod, and then he realized later, like on a later
Oh.
base, he sold it and bought it needlessly. But
No,
it wouldn't have changed the
it's just
series,
happening. No,
but
It
it's
won't.
just ridiculous that you have that many players on one team that are building so badly.
the thing is, yeah, like, I mean, that series is just so uncharacteristic from Pentanet, right? I feel like everything just went wrong for them, right? Starting from the draft, like, I don't know, like, when is the last series where you would go into draft and you just already knew that I was like, oh, this looks like a 2-0 for order.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to game 3, I'm just like, wait, this is 3-0. This is absolutely a 3-0. Like,
Yeah.
game 2, Pentanet drafted a comp, right? Like, in theory, it's good, right? They've got Lee Sin Cannon and Galio. Really good wombo combo potential there, plus Leona. And then you look at Order's comp, it's just, how the hell do you even have target access into a Poppy?
Yeah.
Like-
yeah, no, okay. Order's draft there was the smartest thing I've ever seen because they picked Galio on 3, right? And then you're thinking,
so
oh,
confusing,
they're
man.
gonna play for the Camille. No, they picked Galio on 4, I think, on red. And then like you're like, oh,
Yeah, something
they're
like
gonna
that.
pick Camille on R5, so they just lock in
And they just
Poppy.
pick Poppy.
And
Poppy,
then
yeah.
what are you gonna do? Also, Galio has got to be just.
I don't know.
So
Like,
useless.
I think they blind Galio there too, right?
Yeah,
They're on red side. They have to be blind. Yeah, it has to be a blind Galio. Like, I just couldn't get my mind around over that. I was just like, how is PGG working on draft? They were like, oh, we're coming prepared, right? Like, they showed that Twitch pick, which really surprised me. You know, in the
was
series
good.
against
It was
Chiefs.
good.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great, right? It was great. I was just like, all right, if they're so confident to show Twitch in week 1 of playoffs, right? Like in a series that I wouldn't say it doesn't matter, but you know that whichever team wins, there will be a rematch, right?
Yeah.
Like Pentanet
Well,
versus Chiefs.
there won't be.
If they're so confident to show, yeah, I mean, it won't be now.
There won't
But,
be
like,
a rematch.
when they're so confident to show their pocket pick, surely they have something else, right? Surely. And then I just waited
Yeah, it
that
was
entire
the-
series.
It was the Galio. The Galio.
It was the
cannon.
Galio. It was the Galio.
How
cannon. Like,
good
what
is Galio Cannon? Yeah, you have like 0 consistent engage.
Oh man,
Absolutely
that
0.
yeah. Like I was so confused. But anyway, Chiefs order. I
Yeah,
think
so-
draft is going to play an important part. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And again, shout out to Series, right? I think Series also said, like, you know, draft gap is player gap, credits to all the players. And I agree, right? Like, players on order side definitely have a deeper champion pool, especially the carry players, right? If you look at Kevy, I think he's the player to watch in the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
You seem like you want to say something?
Did you see the Grave Zigs? This was the Order
that was
2021
a game-
bread
Yeah.
and butter strategy of picking Grave Zigs, and no one banned it for our 7-0 run, and they were just fucking swept every team because it was the most annoying broken combo ever.
It's just the best, right? If you look at... Dude, I remember Praetor was so ahead. I was like, oh, Praetor can actually carry this, and then Puma just chucked him a bomb,
Yeah,
and then
he
Graves
like
chucked him a ultimate, and
he
then he's
like
just like 10
one
health.
shot him with that zigzag. Yeah, it was just
It was actually 10 health or
stupid.
something like that. That was so funny. But anyway, yeah, it is Order's bread and butter last year, right? Like the core hasn't changed for Order. It is still Kevy, it is still Puma, and I think both players is not maximized.
What do you mean?
Unfortunately,
I've
the
played
core
some.
is not
I've
maximized.
played some games.
Yeah, you played some games, but yeah, I mean, I think draft's going to be a huge part of the Chiefs Order series, and I think Chiefs really need to prepare very hard, right? Because into Order, like I forgot who I was talking to. I was talking to someone else within like the scene, and I was like, if I am prepping against Order, what do you even do? Because Kevy's got Graves, got Evelyn, got Diana, got Karthus, and then you've got the standard Hecarim, Lee Sin, etc., right? Like he's got the guy's probably got like 7, 8 champions that he can easily pull out on stage. And then Puma, you've got the Zeri, you've got a lot of the standard carry champions, and then you've got Ziggs. The guys played Syndra, the guy has played Swain, the guy has played Seraphine, the guy can probably play like Karma, Soraka, etc., right? Like just mid jungle alone, like you have like I don't know something like 15 champions to consider, right? How the hell do you even draft against this team?
Yeah, it's very tricky, and I think that's where it comes down to the clash of styles. I think for Order, I think coming in, the main strategy that I would like to see is denying the Chiefs their really slow, comfortable champions. I think I don't ever want to see a game of Vigar from Tally. I think,
I mean, I think Viga Zillion are the perma bans, right?
yeah, because I think
Most likely it's perma ban.
I think that Chiefs, the way that they're winning games is just by scaling for the most part, and then just being the better team in late game, right? That's what they're relying on. They're relying on their macro being better, and I think that that is actually that's a big part of why I think Order can take this series. Because I think if it gets scrappy, if it gets really full on early game, I favor Order to just win that mechanics check. I think that across the board, Kevy and Kisei and Puma even out mechanics their opponents 9 times out of 10.
Now that is one thing though that I still have a bit of concern for Order, right? It is their inability to straight up close out games. Obviously, I think the game 3 between Pentanet Order, they closed the game pretty easily, right? Game 2, Pentanet couldn't do shit. Like honestly, they just couldn't do anything. But if you look at like game 1 or like somewhat game 2 of Order Pentanet series, they take a long Order take a long time to close out games. Like there is a lot of downtime in between late game objectives like dragons, barons, etc., where Order weren't really able to capitalize on their map advantage. And I think this is something that I hope Order actually tackles, between last week and next week. And if they're able to just close out the game, because I'm fairly certain that Order will get a lead against Chiefs. Like I'm fairly certain about that one too.
Yeah.
And if they're able to just close out the game, yes, I mean I can see the game going Order's favor like pretty easily. However, if they can't close out the game like game 1 against Pentanet, which dragged on for like in my opinion like dragged on for an extra like 10-ish minutes, then there is always that potential where the last time we see Chiefs versus Order clashing, like Rage just randomly finds a pick on Puma and then they just win the game.
Yeah, and I think that absolutely that's going to be one of the key things to watch, because if Order aren't clean, if Order aren't decisive, Chiefs are the team to punish, right? We saw it even in the regular season, Order having the early game lead versus Chiefs in the majority of their games, right? And then it's just that one late game play that goes badly, and you're right, it just feels like from then on Chiefs will just crush you with an iron fist. So I think the Order now is a lot cleaner than the Order then. That's why I'm pretty keen Order to still win. But I think, whatever happens, I think this series is going to be like so exciting. Not only because if Order win, I get to go to Korea. Not only that, but I think that just in terms of Order being able to challenge Chiefs, which was, for the majority of the season, not how it was, right? It seemed like Chiefs were untouchable. And I think now that we're seeing this team, obviously that we've both been affiliated with, rise up and really challenge Chiefs is something really exciting. So, wow, this we've only been going for 25 minutes, Calvin. Is there anything else that you think you want to talk about for today. We've
I
done
just
our
want to say,
predictions.
I just want to say, Max, do you want to do a monologue on LCO broadcast for order?
What? What do you want me to say? How much I love them?
What do you mean for order? It starts with success. Oh, do you
I'm
not
doing-
know? I mean,
No, I don't know.
it's
What are you
jokes
talking about?
from ELCS. She did like it was what it was like Worlds or MSR or something like where she was like predicting
Who's
a
she?
3-0
Who is
for
she? You haven't said who she
jokes.
was. Shocks.
Shocks. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Jokes.
It's shocks.
Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Um, no, like she did. You know how she did the monologue and then like the EU team just got 3-0.
Oh. No, I'm not gonna do that then. I'm not gonna curse them. Because I
The
think it'd
biggest
be.
curse ever.
I would love to go to Korea. I would love to do that. That'd be fun. Well, it'd make our podcast filming a bit hard though. So, anyway,
I mean, we can change the style of the podcast, right? We can just get your iPhone and you're just like, hey guys, this is Maximize.
well, I
And then
could
I'll do
replace
the
I could replace you with someone from Order. I'll just film it with Order people.
Goodbye.
Or I go to Faker. I go film it with Faker. Can you imagine that? Look, Calvin, I don't even think you'd be mad if I got Faker on the podcast. Can you
Okay,
imagine how much
yes,
it would
I
blow
won't.
up? Yeah,
I won't.
it'd
I won't
fucking-
because hey, but like I would be so salty. I would be so jealous that you get to do a podcast with Faker and I don't. All right.
What do you
like,
mean?
It was.
You get
It's
to do-
literally listed
You
on
get to
my
do a
on my-
podcast with Faker every week.
Nah.
Okay. Anyway, I think that's
Anyway.
it. I think that's it. I think we're done and
Oh,
dusted
well.
for today. It's been a
fine.
quick one. But yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed. Sorry for our hiatus again, and we'll see you back next week for.
The
You know.
final episode.
I'm either going to be
Finale.
really, really happy for next episode or really, really sad. So either way, it's going to be an excess of emotion next week. But I cannot wait for Monday. I hope you guys can't wait either. And we will see you then. So yeah, stay safe
Then
and catch
remember
you
to
next
like
time.
and subscribe. Goodbye.
Oh my god.